You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
All right, here we go. So welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Jonesy. It's episode 438, Star Wars at D23 Expo. You might notice that Albert Padilla is not with me tonight because he is out sick, unfortunately. So we hope he gets well soon. And if you'd like to give him some love, tell him how much you miss him, tell him how much the show needs him, how awful the audio was before we came on air. Please send us a message, 803-717-CAST, 803-717-2278. I'm sure he'd love to hear it, but for real, the show has gone through a bunch of iterations trying to get ready for it. We've changed it up 3 times. I think we've rescheduled it 3 times. So sincerest apologies for all of that. But we did want to bring you something this week. And thankfully, D23 Expo gave us a poster that has some little Easter eggs for Star Wars all over it. So we thought it would be fun to go ahead and just do a little bit of speculation, see what we might get at D23, which is next weekend, and bring some of that to y'all tonight. So this might be the shortest show in Cantina Cast history, but we will see what happens. So, and we're already off to such a swimming start this evening. So, but a quick bit of news. So Bad Batch 2, this whole saga continues about when is it going to come out. And so the rumor mill keeps circulating, still thinking September 28th is actually going to happen. So this is still a bit weird, right? Because again, Andor comes out 3 episodes on the 21st. If this remains true, Bad Batch would have at least 1, maybe 2 episodes on the 28th. Now, we've not really had 2 of the same franchise going at the same time on Disney Plus. And presumably, I mean, if it's the 28th, that's going to be on the same day. So you'd have 9 overlapping weeks of episodes for Andor and Bad Batch Season 2. And I guess the question is, and for those in the chat that have been so gracious to kind of hang with me tonight, is it sustainable for 2 different Star Wars shows to be on at the same time? And maybe more importantly, is the Cantina Cast able to do 2 simultaneous shows at the same time? Can we sustain that type of that type of system? I'm not sure, but I don't know. Is this something that you guys would want? I mean, we've got Marvel on Thursdays, I believe, and now we're going to have these 2. So from across the shows that across all of D Plus, this is a lot kind of all at the same time. So curious what y'all think, if this is something that we're actually going to be able to keep up with. Is it too much? Is it the right amount? Is it there's never enough? How do you guys feel about that? So if you guys want to leave us a comment in the chat, that'd be great. And then we can kind of keep talking through some of that here. So while people are making comments, quick shout outs to our Patreon subscribers. So Jackson Abbott keeps coming on strong. He just upgraded today right before the show to the green milk tier. So thank you so much, Jackson. We certainly appreciate it. And we are going to subscribe to your campaign if you end up running for office. And again, super special thank you to our now part of the tribe members, Mike, Kathy, Rob, Lauren, Dante, and Risk. And of course, our Rod tier, Delusions of Grandeur. Rod, thank you so much. And we're not just plugging this just because we love y'all, is that we actually have opportunities for y'all. So on September 13th, we're going to do another From a Certain Point of View. And this time we're going to do the top 3 deaths in Star Wars. And so this is your chance to come on and actually tell us what you think. What are your favorite moments? And so if you are already one of those tiers, I've posted something on Patreon. Go check it out. Let me know if you're interested, or ping me on Discord. If you're not one of those tiers, we encourage you to go over to cantinacast.com/Patreon. Check out those tiers. See if that's something you're interested in. Sign up. And then if we get you there in time, I'm going to go out there and reach out to folks and see what schedules look like and what we can all do. I need to have that done by the 9th of September. So take a look at it today. Let me know what you think and reply there. Another thing we're going to do, and this is another kind of perk to Patreons as well, is that we're going to do another listener Q&A on the 15th of September. And again, these things are hopefully staying in place, but this can be, anything that's on your mind. It could be all Andor related. It could be maybe Bad Batch, maybe everything we're seeing here, D23, whatever's on your mind. shoot us a question. You could do this over at cantinacast.com/question. It's a really easy to fill out form. I've taken out the social media question. Don't worry about that one anymore. But a chance for you to get kind of your thoughts out there, your feedback, and then ask Albert and myself, what we might think about something and compare it with the way that, what's on your mind and what you think is going to, is working out, or maybe what's not going to work out. And so Rob in the chat, thanks. He said, around the same time, well, he thinks this could be a good test, and around the same time, they could actually tie them together somehow, which is actually a pretty interesting comment. I believe Stephanie was saying something like this to me earlier, that there's the timelines between Andor and Bad Batch, there is some overlay, and so it's a question of whether or not these shows have any kind of, maybe I think it'd be more of a cameo or an Easter egg type of situation, less so than like actual playing off one another. I think they were pretty much written and done in silos, but I think that would be kind of cool though, to have a little bit of Easter egg stuff between the two shows. I think that would be pretty neat to to highlight and have that there, because I think they both kind of feel a bit standalone, even though Bad Batch had ties to the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars seems like so long ago, and even though Rex is in Bad Batch, it doesn't really feel like much of a connection to Rebels, to me at least. And so that would be kind of cool. That'd be kind of nice there though. So from there, let's go ahead and move on to the main show. So as a quick recap, Disney Plus Day is next Thursday, September 8th. We know that we're getting Obi-Wan Kenobi: A Jedi's Return, which is going to be a behind the scenes look at how they brought Obi-Wan Kenobi back. It presumably will premiere on Disney Plus. It'll be there that day. So I imagine it's going to get some love at D23 as well. That's the only firm thing that we've got that we know is absolutely coming out. Now, D23 Expo is the kind of Disney Expo. So it's not just Lucasfilm, not just Star Wars. There's Marvel, there's Disney Animation, and all of those good things. That's September 9th to the 11th. So that's that following weekend. And so the schedule, again, we talked about this a few weeks ago, but just a real quick recap. So on the 9th, we have the Disney Marvel Game Showcase, which is around 4 p.m. Eastern until about 5:30. And the little blurb they do is tune in to Disney and Marvel Game Showcase for announcements, trailers, reveals for new upcoming games for Pixar, Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, and 20th Century Studios. So maybe we'll get a little Jedi Fallen Order, that franchise maybe coming back, maybe a little Star Wars Hunters, something to that effect. And then on Saturday the 10th, the studio showcase is the real big event. That's the main event. So at 1 p.m. Eastern until 3, it says, welcome all multiversal, intergalactic, and world-spanning adventurers as Marvel Studios, Lucasfilm, and 20th Century Studios preview upcoming titles, including sneak peeks and special guests. So that's where we expect all of the really good stuff to come out, right? So I think, when we think about what's the main event for us, that's probably going to be it. If you're listening to the podcast, please come out and join the live stream with us, cantinacast.com/YouTube. You can see I've got on the screen, I've got the poster that is the official poster for D23 Expo. It's this really crazy, vibrant, very Disney-ish, Disney-esque type of poster with the castle behind Mickey, all sorts of chaos going all around him. And of course, just tons of Easter eggs across all of their franchise that Disney owns: Marvel, Disney, Disney Animation, Star Wars, so on and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go piece by piece through this, and we're just going to see what they might glean from this. And in true Cantina Cast fashion, we're just going to overanalyze all of this stuff because, that's kind of what we do. So the first one that we'll start with is kind of over here on the left side is we have what Albert likes to call the Razor Wing, and of course Grogu, right? And so we know that Mando season 3 is not going to premiere until next year, which again, not necessarily a surprise there, but we will. The question is at D23, are we actually going to get the official trailers that we've done the leaked review of this a few episodes back. We know there's 2 different ones that were out at Celebration. So is this a chance for us to finally get the actual release of the trailer? It is still really early to get that trailer. And so to be honest with you, I have a little bit of hesitation at guaranteeing that we would get something like that. I think what was at the very least would be guaranteed would be some sort of sizzle reel. Now, the sizzle reels have been pretty disappointing, if you ask me, when we've got them. either they're really old or something like that. But it's been 3 months since Celebration. I think there's a pretty fair chance, probably 80-90%, that we will get the trailer. But I think at the very least, we're going to get some sort of sizzle reel. We're going to get some, pieces of all of this. And I imagine we would have like a Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, Deborah Chow coming to the stage or having, snippets of interviews about what it took to bring season 3 to life, where they picked up, what the story is going to be, where this is moving forward. So I think those are guarantees about what we will get in season 3 of The Mandalorian. So anyway, it's pretty much a guarantee though. We're going to get something from season 3 of The Mandalorian. Now, one that I wasn't expecting was Boba Fett's starship, formerly known as Slave One. Some people call it Fire Spray 31. It's got all sorts of names these days. It was really curious to see this on the D23 poster because Book of Boba Fett, let's just be honest, it didn't really go over super well with everybody. Some people loved it. Some people liked it. Oddly enough, I got asked a lot recently, just in the last weekend or a week or so, about what I thought about it because other people were hesitant to say they didn't really care for it. It wasn't for them in front of someone that was a huge Star Wars fans like myself. And so I'm not sure if you guys have had that kind of experience before, or maybe you were the one saying, no, I didn't really care for it. But, it was interesting. Of course, there were good things to it, but there were definitely a lot of things that, Albert and I also critiqued about it that, fell a little flat, maybe where we thought it was going to go based on what we had in The Mandalorian. But it's really curious that it's on this poster because I don't know that there's a lot of enthusiasm or excitement for a second season of Boba Fett, or really potentially for Boba Fett to show up in much of anything. And so this is one that I find, a bit curious that it's there. And maybe it's just to fill out because for those listening, it's almost this candelabra type of effect of these curves coming around, from the castle, like these, semicircles. And so it's very symmetrical and it's very nice. So I think that's part of it. But again, for the ship to be there on this type of event seems like there might be something more there. And again, we're Star Wars fans. We like to dig more into the stuff than is reality, but it's something you got to kind of take a look at. So is this more of like an announcement that we might get that, yeah, Book of Boba Fett season 2 is going to be a thing. It will be released, or that it's at least going to be developed. And we start to get an idea of when that might be. We know that we have, 2023 is shaping up to be a bit of a decent Star Wars year, at least a lot of content. We don't quite know the timing, a lot of it, but there's still room in there for that to continue to, to develop and continue to be, filled out and to have fewer gaps. And what it looks like is happening these days, at least, is that we are having fewer gaps in between the content that we get on Disney Plus. Now, we don't quite understand how movies and that will shake out and all of that, but this is where something like Book of Boba Fett season 2 could start to push itself in there in order to fill some of those gaps in content. Now, I think much like many of you, that's not really the way that we want content to be released in Star Wars. This is not the ideal way that we get content, just to fill gaps and just to fill, these little story holes. But because again, I'm not sure what the story is with Book of Boba Fett season 2. I think this is an opportunity though. If they were to do one, I think this is an opportunity. Now you have almost a fresh take on the character now that you've got all of the baggage out of the way of how did he get out of the Sarlacc pit? What did he do? What's he establishing? The opportunity you might have here is you actually can take this and move it forward and tell a new Boba Fett, / Fennec Shand story. And you can start to press this in a direction that people would find engaging, would find interesting. Kind of like Mandalorian, right? And again, continuing this Mandoverse connectivity between them. But again, you've shaken the shackles of what has come before it, and now you can truly push it forward. So I think that's the one opportunity. I think that's the one possible saving grace for the character of Book of Boba Fett in his own series, is for that to give him a really fresh direction and, quite honestly, maybe take the volume a bit out of that equation or scale that back a little bit. And we'll probably talk more about that in the coming weeks, especially as we get to Andor and some of those comparisons. Talked a lot more about Book of Boba Fett than I really expected to. But the one that's really interesting, though, is right here. So we have the Star Wars training remote. This is the remote that, of course, Luke trained with on the Millennium Falcon with Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it's just a really weird inanimate object to be on this poster. So is it something that was really just supposed to be filling like a moon type of object in just in the picture to kind of balance it out? Or does it actually mean something? So the more I thought about this, I'm like, okay, this could really go in a ton of different directions. So let's just take a few of them here. So if we say, if training remotes are really somewhat, directed towards younger Jedi, could this be representative of Tales of the Jedi? Is this something that we could finally get a little bit more structure about at D23, which would make a lot of sense, especially for the younger generation of viewers? The reason why some of these things might be possible with a more in-depth Lucasfilm Star Wars focus specifically, because we know Indiana Jones will probably be there too, but the reason why that might be possible is that Marvel really unloaded at San Diego Comic-Con. So how much more will they actually have in this 2-hour slot? And so I think this is something that might have an opportunity that we do get a little bit more of that information. I think something else that would be really cool to resurrect and to get back in is the Galaxy of Adventures, because I mean, I know I've said it a number of times, but I thought Galaxy Adventures, I love the animation style. I thought it was really cool. I liked that they took the original trilogy and really modernized it. Yeah, it was over the top. Yeah, it wasn't like the movies entirely. Yeah, it was very, theatrical and more eye candy than anything else. But it was really fun and really cool. And it gave you a really good sense of the characters. And it gave you a much more modern way of consuming that content that, let's be honest, my generation, that wasn't how we told stories, but for younger generations and newer generations, that's how they consume content. That's how they get interested. That's how you get them and hook them as viewers. So I think there might be an opportunity there to say, yeah, we're going to do more of that content, more of, kind of the YouTube for kids type of thing. But I would really hope it would be something, around Tales of the Jedi, or Galaxy of Adventures, rather. I think something else it might represent might be a little bit more behind the scenes type of footage. So we got the ILM 6-part series, Light and Magic, which is fantastic. It's amazing. It's really good, well put together. Audio editing is questionable, but content wise and what you get visually, absolutely amazing. Fantastic stuff. We know we're getting the Obi-Wan behind the scenes as well. We had the, before Book of Boba Fett, we also got, the Book of Boba Fett kind of behind the scenes, which is a little weaker, but you see this trend, right, of high quality behind the scenes footage that's being developed while they're developing the content. We know we get the Mandalorian stuff as well. So I think that's another avenue that maybe the training droid might represent. It's just an object. I don't know what you would actually use to equate, behind the scenes material otherwise, but that might be one way of doing it. Now, I think the other thing it could represent might be, more the gaming aspect of Star Wars. And so we know that there's a dedicated gaming panel, which might support this being on the D23 poster, because Hunters has been MIA. It was pushed back to 2023. We've not really heard anything about it since then. And so I think this is an opportunity now for them to bring that back and say, yes, we're in a much better spot with this. They could actually demo it on the floor and have this as more of an event there on the floor that they could do, kind of like what they did at Celebration, but kind of refresh this. It's been 3 months. So whatever maybe wasn't working right, maybe this is that opportunity to bring it back. Now, we know Jedi Survivor is another game that's coming out. That is, my understanding is that's still very early in development, to where I don't know that there will actually be a whole lot of stuff to share and show visually. Maybe concept art, that might be kind of cool. And maybe there's some early renditions of things, maybe an idea of story, maybe some of the folks coming and talking about it. But I got to be honest with you, when we've been to Celebration and some of these other types of events, when they just get up on stage and they talk about a video game and they don't really show you anything about it, I don't know about y'all, but this really kind of bugs me, because video games are such an interactive visual experience that getting up there and talking about what's yet to come is just not super exciting to me. It just doesn't work for me. It doesn't get me energized for the game, especially knowing that the game is a year or 2 years out. It just doesn't do anything for me. So I hope that, while I think Lucasfilm or Lucas Games is going to get some spotlight there, I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit more directed towards Hunters. Although I'd love to see some other content that's maybe not as widely distributed or widely known yet, that might creep its way on there. Now, the X-Wing. We have an X-Wing on here too. So what does the X-Wing actually mean? So we know that Rogue Squadron was, well, we think we know that Rogue Squadron was tabled, right? Patty Jenkins super busy. And so I think it is possible, though, maybe that Rogue Squadron has started to get its kind of act together, that it started to get that development and that cycle is now starting to form up and firm up a little bit. And so if the X-Wing means anything on here, I think Rogue Squadron, of course, is the most obvious one to pop out there. I think another one that's a bit obvious is Andor. We know that Andor will have X-Wings in it, a bit of an earlier prototype. Of course, it was black and white. But when we're going to do the posters here, usually we kind of stick to the traditional colors of things. And this is basically the white and red of Red 5. Now, you could speculate that maybe this means there's more Luke Skywalker to come. Or original trilogy, something to that effect. And I'm not sure that's going to be the case. Now, I've been very, maybe I've been conditioned to just not expect Luke Skywalker to be in content, even though he continues to show up now. He showed up in Mandalorian, showed up in Book of Boba Fett. So, where else could Luke show up? And it's entirely possible he could continue to, right? We have Grogu on the, on the poster as well, of course. But is this something along those lines? I guess it's probably still not. And maybe this is just my own desires. Like, I want Luke to still feel somewhat special. I love having Luke Skywalker content. Of course, we loved Shadow of the Sith by Adam Christopher. We love having that Luke Skywalker content, but I think it's also about keeping it special, keeping it the right type of story with Luke, and not just throwing Luke into everything and seeing, oh, wow, we got the face stuff to really look better this time. Because that takes away from it a little bit. So I would really like for us to take a break from Luke a little bit and continue to bring him in where it really makes sense and where it's really interesting and exciting, but it not to be necessarily every year. Would I love to see Luke Skywalker on screen? Absolutely. I'd probably like to see him more in Galaxies of Adventure. But again, I can't seem to stop obsessing over something like that. But really curious what you guys think. If, between the training droid and the X-Wing, is this something that there's more to glean from this that I'm just missing? Or is this something that you guys want to see, what does that actually look like as that starts to, I don't know, as we get into next weekend, what other things am I not thinking about that might be there? As we get down towards the bottom right of the screen, of course, we have the Andor logo. And not surprising, we know we're getting Andor. We know we're getting multiple TV spots for Andor now as well. So if you haven't seen those on YouTube, I think there's 2 TV spots out there now. Little small tidbits here and there sometimes are new. Most of them are just kind of restructuring it. But again, we continue to gain momentum as we get ready for Andor. And once this event is over, we're about a week and a half away from that. We're about 10 days from Andor dropping. And so the excitement is going to be at a fevered pitch, I think, at an event like this, especially within the Lucasfilm ranks. And I think we'll continue to see more there. I wouldn't surprise me if Diego Luna and maybe Forrest Whitaker and some of the others, Genevieve O'Reilly, are all there in person to do more interviews and things like that to continue garnering excitement. That's probably pretty likely. And again, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw a little behind the scenes, a little sizzle reel as well there, if not an entirely new TV spot trailer. I don't think we'll get a new entire trailer, but I mean, again, those things tend to come out as just part of the natural flow as we get ready for a release date. So I think those are probably more, somewhat expected. So I won't go too far on that. Of course, we see Indiana Jones here. Not Star Wars, but we all love Indiana Jones, or most of us do. Now, the one I wasn't expecting is right above Mickey, right between the ears here. Actually, it would have been funny if it was like on his forehead, but is the fulcrum sign, which of course also just leads us directly into Ahsoka. So let's talk about Ahsoka. Ahsoka, last time we saw, when we were at Celebration, and we didn't get to see this, of course, but it leaked. The Ahsoka had been in production for just a few days. And so, but after those few days, they brought stills. They had a short little, teeny tiny little clip, of things that they were doing. That was just a few days, and that was 3 months ago. So now we have this expectation, I think, growing considerably, that we are going to see more content, a finished scene. And there's reports out there that they actually have a rough edit cut. I don't know if it's an entire episode or what. I find that a little hard to believe after just a few months. And I imagine it doesn't have effects and things like that into it. But is it a rough cut with content maybe, possibly. And I'd fuel to some of that fire is that Dave Filoni has been interviewed on a couple of shows lately, or a couple of articles, and his excitement is really coming through. I think some of this is being taken out of context just a little bit. I think someone equated this to he believes it's like a religious experience, where it's the greatest thing in his life. I think what I'm garnering from some of those interviews and some of those some of that context is that the opportunity to take Ahsoka, a character that he built, and he may not say it, but a character that wasn't very well liked, and where that character is now, both in the animated form and then to bring it to the live stage, and for him to move from animation into a live action director, writer, producer is such a dream come true for Dave Filoni that that's where a lot of that excitement of that some of those comments are coming out. I think it's more in that context than what they're producing on the show is this grand thing. Filoni's never really been one to oversell things. He's always a bit like George Lucas, for better or worse, that little low key, little tongue in cheek humor, but pretty, somewhat self-deprecating. But his love for the passion and for the craft, as well as for the writing and the story, is always there in what they want to present. Now, for them to put it on the poster seems pretty likely we're going to get something. And so I think this is going to be, is it going to be a trailer? I think absolutely not. Now, might it be a light type of sizzle reel? A few shots here and there, stills, maybe a little bit of video. Might we get a better look at Sabine or Hera? That would be really cool. Are we going to get a little bit of dialogue? I think those are all 60, 70% maybes, and pretty high likelihood that we'll get something like that. Now, more likely, what the higher percentage of that is, it'll be Dave Filoni and it'll be Rosario Dawson and company, and maybe Natasha Beard. Gosh, I'm not going to try to pronounce her last name right now, but a few of the main characters coming on and talking about how it's going and what the production looks like, their excitement about the story. And hopefully we'll get a little bit more about the story. Are we going to get an Ezra name drop? Are we going to get a Thrawn name drop again? Are we going to get teased about those types of things to get us excited? So I think it's definitely going to be some sort of in-person interview, probably relatively short, because again, this is like a 2-hour window. I'm not sure how they're going to squeeze all this stuff in, but bring them on stage, talk a little bit about it, and maybe have some stills going on behind them, and maybe a short clip of something. I think that would be really great for Ahsoka. And I think it's actually pretty likely. I mean, again, why'd you going to put it on the poster if not? Now, the one thing that's missing from the poster, and we talked about this at the beginning of the show, is, again, there's no Bad Batch Season 2, at least no clear indicators. You could have put Bad Batch on here instead of, the training remote. You could have done stuff like that, and I don't understand why that wouldn't be the case. I think it would have made more sense for that to be, for that to be part of it, and that to be a core part of it, especially considering it's been absolutely vacant from any kind of advertising, any kind of publication. The time one time it was published, it was somewhat rescinded, retracted a little bit, and just been swept under the rug. But again, where is Bad Batch? Why are we so afraid of pulling and giving us any kind of information about Bad Batch? It just doesn't make sense to me. I would really love for them to come out and completely confirm what is going on. And of course, now Stephanie is going to answer all the questions for us. Maybe the training remote is for Omega because she's really a Jedi. You're in timeout. You're starting to sound like Albert. But who knows? Albert's always speculated there's something really special about Omega. And so maybe it is something like that. Maybe they're going to bring Kanan Jarrus back into it. Maybe not. But again, just give us something. Confirm some things for us. Give us the release date. Let me stop losing sleep over this at night. That would be great. I really, really appreciate that, Disney. Make my dreams come true. I really appreciate that. So that's about it, folks. Again, maybe one of the shortest episodes of Cantina Cast in history. If there's things that you guys like to, that are on your mind that you'd like to hear more about, that you would love to see Disney Plus Day and on D23, please do let us know. You can contact us at hello@cantinacast.com. You can leave us comments in the YouTube chat or the Facebook chats as well. You can always check out our live streams over at cantinacast.com/YouTube. And again, huge thanks to all of our Patreon members for all of your support. If you're curious about that, to get on the show and actually do top 3 deaths in Star Wars with us, cantinacast.com/Patreon is the way to go. Check it out. If you like it, cool. If not, we just love that you listen to the show, and we appreciate your ears, I guess. Again, apologies for the audio mix-ups early on. Some things are just out of our control, but we appreciate you guys sticking with us. Quick shout-outs for those listening in. Rob, Whit, Stephanie. I didn't write these down because I'm by myself. This is why I need Albert. So I have someone to help me out here. Jorge, there you go. And anybody that was lingering out in the background. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will catch you next episode.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff. But I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what. So that's your disclaimer.